Alrighty, welcome back. Hour 2, CBS Sports Radio 1450, The Hall. Dave Scott and Sam Dossler. And joining us on the air now from BaltimoreRavens.com, you can find her columns Late for Work. It is editor and writer Sarah Ellison. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing just
good.
fine. So, Sarah, obviously lots of news surrounding the Ravens as of late, and not even as of late, in the offseason as well. And from a professional standpoint, it's got to be tough to overcome not just the off-the-field stuff, but the on-the-field stuff as well. And by which I mean one of the positions you had going into this season that you felt pretty confident about was the running back. You had an aging veteran, but an all-star caliber Ray Rice, and then you also had his backup Bernard Pierce, who has shown he can do very well and fill in work. We all know Rice is done for now. Pierce has been iffy with the situation. You do have your rookie you drafted in the 4th round. But where do you see the Ravens going at the running back position going forward?
Yeah, it's really interesting because if you look at it, it really is set up like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
The only thing is that it's not. And you know, the reason being is because of the system that Gary Kubiak has brought to Baltimore. Gary has had a history, whether with the Broncos or with Houston, that he just set to the system, and he puts some unknown names on the map. You know, Reuben Jones and Drones, and whoever he plugs in, it's this run stretch system with an offensive line, and the offensive line has completely changed from last year and how it's performing. It's opening holes, and so, you know, you think, okay, well, Lorenzo Taliaferro 3 weeks ago was the number 4 running back on the depth chart, and then Sunday versus the Browns, he nearly rushes for 100 yards, and he's splitting carries with Justin Forsett. And so all of these backs, they're all talented, but it almost seems like with Gary Kubiak, it's almost like you could plug anybody in there, and you're going to rush for more than 100 yards. It may not be one running back, but now there's a committee, and the Ravens have a good problem on their hands. They now have 3 backs who seem to be able to churn out the yards when they're put in there.
One of your other strong offensive weapons was brought in this offseason as well, Steve Smith. You wrote a column today about what Carolina is saying about Steve Smith week. We all know from Smith's history he has never been shy in front of the media. I want to know what you think. What is Smith saying about facing his old team again? Has he said anything new within the past week or so?
Well, it's funny. He just had a presser less than an hour ago, and he was open and transparent. Here's the thing with Steve, and this is what I've kind of learned in the short few months that I've gotten to know him, is here he is, this 35-year-old receiver who's maturing, and he has just a more mature outlook on life, and so he's trying to chill out. He's trying to, and Monday through Saturday you can see that Steve Smith, but boy, when he gets on that field, the old fiery self comes out, and so you kind of see this battle within him of trying to chill out a little bit, but then also be the fiery receiver. There is no doubt that he wants to prove to the Panthers that they shouldn't have let him go. And so, you know, he tries to downplay that a little bit, but then every once in a while you kind of see it seep out. He wants to prove not only to the Panthers but to everyone that, you know what, he's going to laugh in Father Time's face. And he can do it at 35, and he is doing it. He's the Ravens' top receiver, both in targets, receptions, and yards.
You mentioned that Steve Smith is trying to chill out a little bit, except for on Sunday. So when Sunday does come and he faces the Carolina Panthers for the first time in the regular season, do you expect to see a little bit of Deshaun Jackson in him, a little bit of showboating if he happens to be near the end zone?
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it showboating, but it's funny because Joe Flacco talked about it today. They all asked him if he was going to be even more fiery than he already is, and Joe said it with a lot of love and kind of a joke. He's like, can he become more of a maniac than he already is? And when he used the word maniac, he talked about, you know, Steve wanting to get the ball, and Steve's that way. No, it's almost like whatever opponent it is, he already is fiery. He wants to beat everyone. including the Panthers. So Joe Flacco himself is interested to see if Steve can get even more fiery. But yeah, every time he catches the ball, he stands up, he spins it. It doesn't matter if it's for a first down or a touchdown. He spins it. He thumps his chest. He screams out loud, and he lets you know that he just did a good thing. And you know what? He backs it up, so he gets to do it.
Going off on Joe Flacco a little bit more, you recently wrote an article about how he improved his accuracy. And, of course, Joe Flacco signed that big contract after the Super Bowl victory in 2012, which kind of started a domino effect of these big, huge contracts to come with other quarterbacks. Since his contract, though, last year was not his best year statistically. Again, a lot of injuries and changes with that team. But does Flacco need to step up? I mean, he's off to a good start so far, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Rough game against the Bengals, but so far everybody's had one. Does he really need to progress even more this year to justify that contract, or did he do so by taking them to the Super Bowl?
I don't know. That one, to me, he certainly earned that contract. I mean, he bet on himself. It's no secret that he and the Ravens were in talks before that Super Bowl year, and the Ravens had offered him a contract, and he bet on himself, and he got it. What's hard about analyzing last year is that there were so many things that went wrong on the offense that it's hard to say, oh, Joe Flacco didn't play up to his contract. He lost Dennis Pitta, one of his favorite targets. And Dennis Pitta was supposed to make up for the loss of Anquan Bolden. Jacoby Jones went down in the beginning of the season. The offensive line wasn't doing anything for either the pass protection or the run game. I mean, it's incredible how the run game has changed in 1 year. And so he was thrown to Torrey Smith, who had a fantastic year, and then undrafted rookie Marlon Brown, who, now that everybody's healthy, I think only has 1 or 2 catches so far. He just hasn't had the opportunities. And so it's so hard. I know from outside of Baltimore, that's what it looks like. It looks like, okay, he got paid and then he didn't play up to it. But it's so hard when you're looking at all the pieces around him go down. It's so hard to pin it on Joe. But does he need to do better? Joe will be the first one to say he wants to play better, and I think he's off to that start. I think only against the Week 1 Bengals, his receivers had 7 drops. They've all talked about how they wanted to improve, and they have since then. And so I think you're seeing this is a brand new system under Gary Kubiak, and it's completely different from what Joe's been in before. He's made his name off of the long ball, and Gary Kubiak is getting him to throw more of these 7 to 10 yard high completion rate passes. And so I know that Dennis Pitta just went down again, but I think you're going to see progression. I think Joe Flacco is going to break 4,000 passing yards for the first time in his career, and I think that people will see more of who he really is when he has a cast around him.
We are, of course, talking with Sarah Ellison, writer and editor of BaltimoreRavens.com.
And you've mentioned tight end Dennis Pitta a couple times. Just had his hip surgery. It was a success. But what are they going to do to fill the void that Dennis Pitta is going to leave on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's 2 things that the Ravens have this year to help, 3 things really to help fill that void that they did not have last year when he went down. Number 1, you have Steve Smith, which you didn't have last year, or an Anquan Bolden. Number 2, you have Owen Daniels, who the Ravens picked up from Houston as a free agent, and he spent his career with Gary Kubiak, and Owen Daniels already has 2 receiving touchdowns, and he's just a huge step up from the backups last year. And then thirdly, and this one's very interesting, is you have fullback Kyle Juszczyk, who is not your traditional fullback. He's more of a halfback and can play a little bit of that inside the slot kind of role. And I think that you see it on Sunday. He caught his first touchdown pass. I think you'll see some more passes to him. So I think it's going to be a committee that will fill in for him, and it's 3 people that the Ravens didn't have last year.
Well, one of the guys they do have from last year who's been pretty non-existent so far this year. Only has 6 catches for 85 yards and no touchdown. The speedster, Torrey Smith, what's been up with him so far?
Yeah, that's a good question. On that one, the jury's still out for me a little bit. He's off to a slow start, but Torrey has played in streaks in the past. If you talk to Torrey, if you talk to the Ravens offensive coaches, what they see happening is based off of last year's success, the opponents are game planning for him and double teaming him, which has left Steve Smith open. I think people have, maybe not thought Steve could do what he is doing, and is doing it more on one-on-one coverage. And so in Torrey's mind, he feels like once people start realizing that they need to start pay more attention to Steve, that things will open up for him a little bit more. So, for the Ravens' sake, hopefully that's right, and we'll see if that's the case going forward.
A recent article, you put the ESPN.com power rankings in there. ESPN has them currently ranked the 13th best team in the NFL. Some other rankings have them in the top 10. Do you think 13th is a fair ranking as to where the Ravens are now, or do you think they should be a little higher or a little lower?
I don't know. The Ravens always like being the underdog. They seem to play better with it. I don't know. It's probably about an accurate ranking. What we need to see is if the AFC North looks as strong as it is. The AFC North has not lost to a non-AFC North team, and the Ravens have only played AFC North teams, and so it's looking like the division might be one of the strongest in the league this year. And so it's hard to say. The Ravens are 2-1. They came in off of an 8-8 season, so it's always hard to even break the top 15. So they're slowly moving up, and I think that if they continue to win in the next couple too, I think they'll break the top 10. But honestly, I don't put a lot of stock in those power rankings. Everybody, those seem to change. I mean, the Ravens can jump up 7 spots one day and then fall down 7 the next day. It's always a what have you done for me lately league, and so I don't put much stock into it, and I know the Ravens don't either.
All right, Sarah, just jumping forward a little bit more before we let you go. I'm going to have you finish this sentence for me. The Ravens can win the Super Bowl this year if.
Well, for every team, it's if they stay healthy.
Yes.
If they stay healthy, the Ravens started out pretty healthy in week 1, and if you look at the injury report today, there's some pretty big names on there. They've already lost 2 defensive linemen before the season started for the whole season, and then Terrell Suggs is on that injury report. He didn't play practice today. Chris Canty's on that injury report. Timmy Jernigan's on that injury report. Dennis Pitt is now gone for the season. Ray Rice is gone, who was your Pro Bowl running back, and so you're starting to get to the point where it's always the next man up. But they have got to stay healthy, and I think that the pieces are there if they can all stay healthy.
She is Sarah Ellison, writer and editor for BaltimoreRavens.com. You can find her columns late for work. Sarah, thank you so much for taking time and joining us today.
All right.